Hello, Juno, my dear friend Juno. Lovely soul, poetic soul. Such a bright, shining light. Don't forget it. The impact you've made, wow. Hope you remember. And thank you for being here with us. Alright, your question. Well, this is a question. The question was women. And then when I asked to expand on it, what I love about them, the role they've played in my transformation, how they inspire me. Wow, well, don't get me started on women. Wow. I don't even know where to start. I'll just probably ramble. I have a love for everything. I am love. I love everything. But women, yeah, I've always had a very special, profound love for women. Yeah, it can't even be described really, but I'll try. Women, wow. And all this magic and these miracles, and is there anything more amazing than a woman? I mean, even when you go into the core, I mean, on the surface, I mean, so many layers on the surface, and then so many layers underneath, and then at the core, I mean, at the core of it all, I mean, the bringers of life, the lover and creators. They create life. So, I mean, isn't that the core of it all? So, women, wow. Amazing, amazing, amazing creatures. I mean, so from a physical standpoint, from the three-dimensional standpoint, I mean, such amazing creatures, such amazing expressions of love and life and creation. And they're just so lovely. I mean, their touch, their smell, their taste, I mean, all of it. So lovely in form, and yeah, just women are such lovely creatures. It's incredible. And their love, when a woman is loving from her deepest, most unfiltered state, when a woman is truly whole and is loving from that place, wow, it rocks the world, and it always has. It'll rock a man's heart, and it'll shake the world. Children feel this love, of course. I mean, mothers are, wow. I'm almost becoming speechless. I mean, you asked the right guy about women. I have such an admiration and love for women. I mean, mothers, I mean, you can't beat the love and compassion. You can't. It's just so obvious, especially in general, but with mothers, you see it. I mean, they love their children so much they'll do anything for their children. They'll find strength in themselves that in their own personal situations they may struggle with fears and have trouble to find the strength, or whatnot. But that doesn't exist really, or rarely, in the relationships with their children. Something supersedes all of that, and that's when we really see them often shine. They shine in so many ways, but that's when we see women shine the brightest. What they're capable of doing for their children, for the love of their children, the compassion and tenderness and care and selflessness that they can, that they do, the selflessness that they show with their children. I mean, and when there's challenges related to their children and stuff, we see the courage that they can find. That's another thing. I don't know if there's a more courageous creature on this earth than women. I mean, they live in a reality where they kind of have the best. I mean, we all do, but especially women. I would say women, that's why I said the core. Women are really just an exaggeration, or, exaggerated expression of it all. And so we see this in women, and so in that sense, they experience it all, what we all experience, but they experience it in an even more intense way, kind of the best and worst of all things, which is why I say that they're courageous, and they, to think what a woman has to go through in her lifetime, in this reality, even in her body, what she has to go through, and with the emotions. I mean, my perception, this of course is my perception, but I'm not trying to tell women who they are. My perception, women are incredibly, with all their gifts, the two most dominant traits that can be seen at all times is their emotions, which would make sense. They're so tapped in and tuned into everything, it totally makes sense. So they're incredibly emotional. We all are, but they're incredibly emotional. And these emotions can shift and move just as everything in this reality changes. So it shifts and moves. So really it's in balance. We often, because it can be difficult, we some people, I would say mostly men, can often think that it's out of balance. But it's actually in balance, if you think about it. True balance. It's an expression of nature, and nature's always shifting and changing. The sun shines, then a storm rolls in. There's no right or wrong, there's just shifting and moving. So in that sense, they're shifting and moving, and their bodies are an expression of this, and their minds and their emotions express this. And women are incredibly intelligent. We're all intelligent, but women are really intelligent. And it's such a gift. But it can be challenging for them, and of course it can be challenging for men because of these two things, often the emotions can get up in the mind, and like all of this, once emotions are involved and you start spinning in the mind, then the mind can often trip us up, and we can often cause our own suffering, and we can get confused, and we can, all kinds of things can happen when we get too up in the mind and too believing in ideas and concepts, and that's the human condition. So women are really just, again, an exaggeration of this, a more powerful expression of this. And that's amazing. It's an amazing pointer. They teach us. And so they often struggle even quite often more than men. Not always. I mean, I'm not comparing. I'm just saying that women can, with these emotions, and they can really get up in the mind, and that can be really unbelievably challenging for them. And so it's amazing that they can work through that, and they do, and they feel their emotions, and they work their way through it. And so we got to give them credit for what they go through. I mean, we all go through that, and we know how challenging it is when we get up in the mind and we get emotional. Now imagine that intensified. I'm talking to the men now. Imagine that intensified. And yeah, I could probably talk all day on women, but so it's incredible. And then the physical challenges, of course. And then the realities of the world. I won't harp on it too much, but I mean, the reality is in our current society, and really society all the way up to this point, women have had a hard time. They've had a lot of challenges, and it can't be easy for a woman to step out in the world. They're, first of all, physically wanted by the men, so that's always blown me away. I don't know. I mean, we all feel that. I can feel when, women are attracted to me, and it can be overwhelming at times. But again, women are an more exaggerated, powerful expression of that, because pretty much any woman steps out of the house, there's going to be a lineup of guys that, naturally are doing what they're doing and naturally are, wanting of them in a physical way, and maybe emotional too and whatnot, but, I'm talking sex right now. So, men tend to have very high sex drives in general. I mean, these are all just generalizations. It's much more even complex than I'm saying, and we're all much more complex, and there's exceptions and variations. But we see that men, have generally high sex drives, and they often live in that state, a lot of them very consistently, and so when they step into the world, we see this, and so it must be so tough for a woman to step into the world, step out of the house, and know she's going to have eyes on her all day long, she's going to have these vibrations coming at her. Talk about courage, I mean. Wow. And then, of course, there's, again, I won't harp on it, but there's the dangers, we know rape has always been a big problem and still is, so just that reality and violence against them and still, at times, prejudice against them, which is ridiculous. So, all these things we all have to go through to an extent, but again, they're like the exaggerated, most powerful expression of all of this. And they live it. And they shine their light through it all. So bright. And still their beauty comes out. And still their compassion and their bravery and their wisdom and their love is just incredible. The bringers of life. And then, of course, to have children, the challenges of birthing and raising and children. Amazing how they do it, and that they can do it, and then the way they do it. Nothing like a mother's love. There's nothing like it. And in romance, they can be so giving and so loving, and they can be challenging, of course. We can all be very challenging in all areas, especially romance. And especially, they can be challenging when they get up in the mind again and the emotions. But in that sense, they're a gift too, because they teach us. They teach us to because again, that's really more in balance than it is less in balance. So they teach us, they show us, remind us of the balance of nature, of shifting and flowing, that's change. They remind us of change, to embrace change. And by working through what they have to work through, they teach us and set an example. And so they should be admired for that greatly. And they give us a challenge to ascend ourselves. So as men, they give us a chance to, in these romantic relationships, they give us a chance to ascend our own fears, and which, of course, they're going to trigger on both sides. And they give us a chance to practice patience, and true patience and acceptance. It's amazing. And women are so beautiful inside and out, and they, again, expression of the beauty of it all. And so they can really appreciate the beauty. That's, it took me a few decades to really understand why women have such an attraction. We all do, but women especially have such an attraction to things of beauty. Flowers, perfumes, you know, sensual flavors in food, you know, you name it, whatever it is. We can all appreciate the beauty, and we're all appreciating it more and more, and men are more embracing their feminine side, which is great, and it's naturally coming out during this whole shift, and that's great. But women naturally are beautiful and tap into all the beauty, and they can see it. And so, of course, they're the first ones often to eat without effort, see it, see the beauty around them and in others. It's incredible. And their movements and their sounds and their song and their voices and their music. Wow. And of course, there's nothing like the loving embrace of a woman. I say I could go on all day about women. I think I'm going to wrap it up though, because otherwise I will go on all day. Women, they're such a gift. They're so incredible. Again, one of the biggest pointers in this holographic funhouse wonderland, so filled with variety and so filled with pointers everywhere, pointers in nature, pointers in life, pointers everywhere that point us to the truth and the main truth. And so women are probably the greatest pointer of that, the greatest expression of life and love and of source. And so I embrace that, and I cherish that, and I love that. Thank you. Love and light.